Good everyone. I hope you guys are having an amazing day. So today topic is a bit interesting because you might have seen this, experienced it in your implementation process. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's a service cloud or sales cloud or other product which you wanted to roll out. So that's exactly what I want to be talking today. The rollout strategy from a service cloud point of view, right? So the rollout is a very stressful process, right? I mean, say for instance, you decided that okay, this is something which we're gonna use it as a part of our the business process going forward. We need to have a service cloud implementation in place in our production org, right? And so we realized that it's going to bring more benefit to our business and help improve the customer service, right? So that's fantastic. And based on that, the seeing different stakeholders, your architects, your stakeholders, and C-suite team, right? They decide to make this a priority as a part of a rollout strategy. Now, it's all good. You decided to, build a rollout strategy because you decided that okay, we need a service cloud. So that you need to understand a few things before you actually do a rollout strategy. It applies to any product you do the rollout strategy, right? But I'm just talking from a service cloud point of view. Okay, the first thing you need to have a team in place. Okay, which is very important because obviously, if you don't have a team in place, you can't roll out the damn thing, right? Because obviously, you are rolling this out for someone to use it, and someone is making a decision. Someone has to pay for it. Someone has to approve it, right? So different people are involved. Okay, so let's look at the team, right? It's just in a nutshell who all will be involved. The sponsor for the project, right? Or you can say executive sponsors. Executive sponsor. I mean, this is not a technical session whatsoever. Then you have your manager, management, product manager or whatever, right? That's a product manager. Okay. Then you have your system admin. Then you have developer slash architect. And then you have users, right? End users, right? Okay. Let's bring this people together. And it's fantastic, right? Okay, let me join them together, right? To this team. I mean, I love Jambo, right? It's one of my favorite web tool. People use different, mine is always the Jambo. I've used other stuff as well. For some reason, I have developed a strong liking to assist technology, so can't help it. It's my go-to tool for any presentation, right? I mean, I can't present you guys with an old-fashioned blackboard and chalk, right? So this is the way. Okay, sorry, I digress. Okay, so let's talk about executive sponsor, right? So this guy, this person, is someone who's responsible to prioritize and approves how your team actually gonna, you know, they use their time to work on the service cloud, right? This is the big boss, in other words. Um, and a product manager, or or a product owner, or you can say, yeah, product manager, right? You can say someone who has a day to day, who will look after your day to day service and support process. Okay, or you can also say project manager, right? So I'll just put it as product manager. Okay, then you have someone called sysadmin. System admin is the person who will configure changes on the, if someone wants, say, I wanted to have access to that field, I wanted to add a new field, right? I wanted to build this flow, I wanted to do some changes to, approval process, I wanted to do a validation rule, that kind of thing. Sysadmin will do it. But that being said, right, the role can be interchanged. I'll tell you with who. Okay, then you have developer architect. In Salesforce space, developer architect role can be very interchanged. Like I do coding most of the times, right? And I also work as an architect. So, and you cannot be a developer if you can't architect stuff in a very efficient way. So that's my belief, that you have to be a great architect. An architect has to be a developer as well, because if you can't build a prototype, right? If you can't code it, then it makes no sense, right? So in Salesforce space, you can be sysadmin at the same time, right? Someone who learns how to code. Most of the sysadmins I met, unfortunately, they don't know how to code very well, but that's okay. I mean, it's not a showstopper, right? Uh, so in some of the companies, right, like in one of my previous role, I did the role of all these three. Okay, if I put it that way. So it's always easy for someone with the programming experience to do these three things rather than someone who don't have a programming experience, right? Okay, so end user is someone who will be using your system, right? So someone who will be testing and giving you feedback saying, hey, I want this layout to look this way. This interface is a bit clunky. I don't think it's going to help other agents, right? Someone who can give a valuable feedback, right? So that, based on that feedback, sysadmin or developer architect can come together and provide that better looking interface. You can include this as a part of your rollout strategy, right? Now, so that's one of the thing, and that's great. The team is there now. You have a team in place now. Another thing, you have to understand the goals, right? Why you wanted to roll out this product at first place, right? Obviously there should be valid reason behind it, right? So if there are no goals, then it's pointless to invest a lot of money to roll out a technology which you don't think will add any value to your customer as well as to your company, right? Okay. Now, the first thing, the goals, right? You can say, I wanted to measure, I wanted to give a better customer experience. Okay, the most important goal, right? You can say customer experience. Then improve. You can say agent productivity. I don't know. Hope I spelled correctly. Um, and you know, uh, yeah, this too will cover most of the stuff. Then you can include as a subcategory, which you can talk about in a second, anyways. So these are the two things, right? And you can also say it will help improve the customer brand and the market and kind of stuff, right? In the long run picture, and add better advantage compared to its competitors, whatever, right? You can add all those stuff, but we're just gonna focus on two things important, right? Obviously, Service Cloud has an edge in Salesforce space to provide the seamless customer experience, which is exactly what most of the companies are after, right? So that the customers stay loyal to the brand. So to do that, customer has to feel appreciated and have to receive a better service every time they interact with your business, right? So keeping that into consideration, you should include your goal as a part of your rollout strategy. The customer experience is one of the thing. Okay. Now, improve agents' productivity, right? This is a subjective terms, right? You might say a subjective statement, what I mean. Um, so it means different to many people, right? Improve agent productivity. You can say agents can take more calls, agent can solve more cases, or in other words, in other measure, you can also say agent can spend productive time with the customer to give that valuable customer experience, even though agents are not able to solve um, you know much cases, but at least they are giving a valuable feedback to the customer and empowering them to figure out the solution themselves. So you can come up with different things. It just depends what your company's main priorities are. So keep it simple. Let's say agents will have access to all the tools to do the job properly. For instance, access to the knowledge base, so that they can refer to the knowledge base, and they will have customer information at one place. Let's jump into the org, right? Just to because I don't want it to just blah 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 blah. It's boring. I agree that I get that as well. Okay, so um, why you think that Service Cloud is important? So let's go to the app. this tic-tac-toe, which actually handshake it with the Service Cloud. Um, so you just say Service Console. Let's look at the Service Console, right? From an agent perspective, okay? And the advantage what an agent will get, right? I'm talking from a goal perspective. Um, oh no, not the Sales Console. Sorry. Okay, so let's look at one case, right? This case. Okay, so I wanted to deal with this case, and customer called, say, generator after electric failure, whatever, right? And so the agent can look at the contact details here in the one screen, and they can look at the cases, you know, for parent contact, right? And they can email from the same screen, and they can pose the stuff, and they look at the milestone, and they can look at the attachment. I can enable the knowledge stuff here as well, right? Everything you can look at one screen, and they can also look at the second case and the in the second tab without changing the browser tab, right? It's like inside the browser you have multiple tabs, so you can you know switch back and forth, and you can also um, you know you can also email whatever you wanted to do right from here, just by clicking here. So I mean, this is kind of in my opinion, this will give a better advantage um, to an agent. Okay, so that's the goal, to important goal. Okay, and some company will also consider these are like a general goal as a part of a business, but they might also say, um, you know, how this goal will help the business in 3 to 5 years. Okay, now the the way to look at it, right? So if your goal is to improve the custom agent productivity and your agents are happy, so obviously when the agents are happy, they will serve your customer better, which will lead to a better customer experience. And when the customer experience is better, you will obviously get a better CSAT score, yeah. And when you have a better CSAT score, you can advertise that in your website, saying, "Look, our customers are talking good stuff about us." And so when more people talk good things about your brand, the more people will love to be part of your brand. And when that happens, your profit will go up. When your profit will go up, obviously, you can contribute some of the money to give pay rises to your agents. And that happens, agents will get more productive and more happy. It's like a moral boosting, right? And then you can invest more money to improve your other stuff in the company, right? So you see the small thing can makes a big difference, right? So the rollout strategy, uh, as a part of a rollout strategy, it's important that you include the goals, right? Which is, I believe, very important. And another thing, what you should also we talked about the goal, right? Now, so how do you measure your goals, right? And what metrics you can, using what metrics you can measure whether your goals are hitting the mark or hitting the target or not, right? So metrics plays a very important role, because obviously just by having goals, right, it's pointless if you are not measuring whether you are hitting your target or not, right? So that's why most of the companies have performance reviews, right? So they give you a goal in the beginning of the year. At the end of the year, they measure based on certain criteria to see whether you have achieved that goal, right? Otherwise, it's pointless to have a goal in first place, right? If you're not even measuring it. So that's where the metric comes in the picture. It's quite interesting, right? When I talk about metric, right? It varies from company to company, but since so whatever metrics you use, right? As long as you can measure your goal, that matters at the end of the day, right? So, for instance, you can measure, you know, performance of an productivity of an agent by measuring the total cases an agent solves in a day or in a week, whatever, right? And then other thing you can say, you to say how the total number of time or average handling time. You can say AHT by an agent, and also you can measure using CSAT, right, which I already talked about. Okay, so If you're getting positive CSAT, let's say if your CSAT, say if after out of five, if you're getting constantly getting 4, 4.5, 5, then you're pretty much doing a good job, and your goals are, I would say you're meeting your deadlines. Sorry, meeting your target. But if you're getting like one, point 0.5 in the CSAT score, that means you are not actually meeting your goals, right? You're doing something wrong. So your focus is somewhere else. So that's why the metrics plays a very important role, so that you can correct the things which you're doing wrong, right? And it's important for your business, right, in the long run. Okay. Now, another thing, the rollout is, these are the things, uh, and so you need to the most important thing, right? The documentation, the rollout documentation, the process documentation, which is the most ignored and yet the most powerful, aspect of the rollout strategies. The documentation part, right? You defining your process, the service process. I would say process documentation. What happens? Process documentation. Process documentation. Why it's important. Documentation. Right. For instance, right. I'll give you a scenario. So you wanted to make a change to your say for instance, you've been working on a service cloud for some time. Cases are getting created. Then over the course of time, for some reason, as an agent, you gave a suggestion, right? You need to add more information, more extra field on a case object, right? Now, so when that needs to be done, right? What's the process in place? Do you go to admin, or or do you approach the product manager, or you approach the platform team? So you have to understand that, right? So having that defined process in place is very important. Okay, and you need to have that documented somewhere, maybe in a Confluent page or wherever, right? Depending upon the process your company follows. Um, so if you do not have a clearly defined process, right? Then it kind of get messy, right? Then that's where the most of the companies, right, like big companies, right? I work for the big corporate, and they have a governance process in place, and that this can be tied into your governance process. But you can argue some companies don't want it to, but I'm just saying, it's, having this process in place is very handy. It actually, you know, helps, to deal with the things. Okay. Now, now you decide all of this is in place. Now you're actually ready for your rollout cloud, service cloud rollout. Now you have to understand one thing, right? You need to know what the things which you can give out of box, right? Say, for instance, especially to an end user, right? So end user might have, you might have to do brown bag session before actually rolling out with the end user. End user might say, hey, can I see cases and contacts and everything at one place? And if you, as an admin or an architect, if you are not familiar with um, the product functionality, then you might end up in giving a wrong suggestion. Then they say, "Oh no, it does not support it," and the user might say, "This is the most important feature." Then you might say, "Hey, we might have to do customization." When as a matter of fact, everything is out of box functionality, right? So you need to upskill yourself, before you even do a rollout strategy as a developer or admin. It's very important as an architect or admin, right? Who is I interchangeably use this word because some companies, like I said, both means the same. Um, so you need to give a brown bag session to your end user, and the end user might have a lot of questions, and you need to prepare to answer that question. So if you're not familiar with the Service Cloud, you can go to Trailhead. You can go to, you can attend a user group to get an understanding about the functionalities that get supported. But the Trailhead is a better place, or you can even watch my videos, right? I'm just kidding. So so that's one of the aspect of it, right? Which is, I believe, it's very important, because and then you need to know, right, when someone gets stuck, right, when the end user gets stuck, have a question about the product functionality, who they approach. So the rollout strategy should include a training plan, okay, which is very important. Obviously, you need to train your end user, right? You can't give the like. I mean, you need to have at least some training planning uh, in place, right? To train, like for instance, if you change your job, right, you go to a new place. No matter how good you are with the Salesforce, you still need to get some training on the product you need to work on, right? Because just looking at an org, it's sometimes difficult to figure out because there are hidden processes behind the scene, there are approval process in place. So you need to have a training plan in picture, right? The user need to know how the cases are getting created. The cases can be created by sending an email or by different other omni-channel, right? So it's important that things needs to be documented and the user training manual has to be produced so that user can refer it when they get stuck, or they should have a support process in place, to reach out the right channel, right? When what happens if a user hit a snack, who to report, right? These kind of things are very important. And that's why I often believe, when I started out my career, right, as a developer, I didn't pay much attention to documentation. Over the course of time, I realized that documentation is very important. When you get into architect stage, right, you tend to realize things from a different perspective, right? Because initially, when a developer start out, I'm not saying for everyone. I'm saying the way I was, right, back in the days. I had a very narrow vision, right? I need to fix this bug. That's my job. Get it done. The rest I don't care. That was a very bad attitude. Obviously, you're fresh out of uni. You graduated, and then you went to work. Uh, you know, and then you learn from somebody, right? And the person I learned from initially, mm, I'd rather have no opinion about it, but that's all good. So that's what I'm saying, right? It doesn't matter, how experienced a person could be. The processes are different from company to company. Some companies have different processes in place, so you need to understand that. And someone might have to train you on that, right? Just to so that you don't end up in doing mistakes, right? So that's one of the things that's very important. So yeah, so as you can see, the roll-up strategy is a very interesting topic, right? But it's very challenging. A lot of aspects are involved. A lot of people are involved. So yeah, that's pretty much I wanted to talk about in this episode. This is important, not just from a certification point of view, right? But just from your own consultant experience, right? So that's all I wanted to talk. Thank you.